Yo, what is up guys? Grim here. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the recent announcement from Grind Gear Games with changes to the Heist League. So to begin with, let's quickly talk about where we're at. So the Heist League came out pretty strong. It had insane rewards and people were making basically headhunters every day just from doing stuff like lockpicking contracts. You had a pretty much guaranteed reward pool that you could access and the rewards were completely bonkers. So people were chaining them, it was just too strong, so Grind Gear came in and swung the nerf hammer hard. They made it so you couldn't loot all the chests anymore, and they made it so that the chests in general spawned less frequently by introducing a ton of bad rewards into each of the contract mod pools. Overall, if you compare the pre-nerf and post-nerf, you're going to get 50% less league-specific or unique reward chests because 50% of them have been replaced with either jewelry, weapons, or armor. I've done the stats, I've done the tests, that's the numbers for all the contracts, so it's basically like a 50 to 70% loot nerf in the most recent patch, as well as a huge quality of life nerf because you now have to manage the alert. So rewards were gutted, and apparently, the community doesn't like that, so we've received an update on what we can expect to change with the Heist League moving forward, because right now, heists, with the exception of perhaps lockpicking, which you can still make some pretty good money at, are not worth doing. So, what are the changes and what can we expect moving forward? Are heists going to be worth it moving forward? Are you going to want to run these things? Should you start stocking up on contracts? I'm here to answer all those questions. Of course, all of these things are not official yet. They're just things that GGG are thinking of doing, so take it all with a grain of salt, but it does look like these things will come to pass. So let's get into it. So first off the bat, average heist length nerf. So this is absolutely massive. Right now, you can get a massive heist. I'm talking enormous, like probably like 2 to 3 times the length of perhaps a lower tier heist. So there's a massive variance on the length of heist you would get. And longer heists have more doors in them, which means they're going to take significantly longer to do, especially if you're doing something like agility. So it can make it quite inconsistent and it can be quite frustrating, and the long heists feel gross. They're more challenging, they're more risky, especially if you're going for the end stuff, and they don't actually have more rewards in them. So with a average heist length nerf, we're only going to get one size, it's going to be consistent, and overall, we're going to have less doors to open, we're going to be able to get through them faster, and that's going to allow us to run more contracts per hour, meaning we're going to get more loot rewards, meaning an overall buff to the loot and efficacy of how you're going to be able to run heists. And due to the fact there's so many heists in the economy, this is absolutely massive. It's a massive buff to how much rewards are going to be pulled out of heists and how fast you can do them. So fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Next up, let's talk about the next one. They've reduced the number of doors in heists. So this coupled with the other nerf is going to be completely insane. There's going to be significantly less doors for you to open on average, and you're going to be able to really truck through those heists far faster. And with some specific contracts, such as Deception, which don't have any doors on the way out, you're going to be able to farm intelligence for blueprints extremely quickly now, which is actually quite cool indeed. So already we've seen massive clear speed buffs to running contracts and heists. This is pretty much already going to have a massive impact on how much you can get through them, and it's going to make them a lot more rewarding, which is really, really cool. Next up, agility speed buff. So this is specifically for agility. It's going to make the agility contracts a lot nicer to run. Right now, it's completely ridiculous. It can take up to 20 seconds for any of them to do their door, and they can also just bug on top of that. So this is going to be a welcome change. Hopefully they reduce it by about half to make it more in line with other exiles. Next, they're adding some new bosses, which I'm going to assume is new uniques. Cool, not too worried about that. I mean, it's nothing to do really with the league, but it's cool nonetheless. We'll check that one out. Next, heist rewards. Here's the big heavy hitter. This is what we need to talk about, and this is really going to be determining what you want to stock up on right now, because believe me, you're going to want to stock up. So, first of all, they're increasing rewards from Talisman, Metamorph, and Harbinger, which is quite interesting, because already Harbinger can drop beachheads and infused beachheads, along with shards, of course, and all that good stuff we know from Harbinger. So they're buffing that, so this is going to be considerably better. Talisman and Metamorph. Metamorph was already pretty insane. If you rolled Fertile Catalysts, it was always a big moneymaker. So buffing this further is going to be completely crazy, especially if you get like double the amount. We could see massive returns from that now indeed. Also, Talisman, I don't know how they're going to buff this. All I can imagine is that they're going to increase the amount of uniques that drop from it, or they're going to make the Talismans lucky, similar to how we have the enchanted system right now. What would I recommend investing from this? So with the agility buffs, I think it's traps or agility. That's the one that has Harbinger in it. It could be pretty good. Of course, demolition takes a massive buff here. So agility, traps, and perhaps demolition could be worth picking up if you can get them cheap before the new patch. And that's going to be further exaggerated with these next things we're going to talk about here. So special rewards from small chests have been moved to big chests. This is a massive change. So right now I've been testing pretty much a lot of contracts, and I've actually been testing not opening the small chests at all, and you can get a very good amount of currency out of it. I think I was making about 14C per contract of lockpicking, not even opening the small chests. So moving rewards from the small chests is going to make alert much better. It's going to make cast extremely overpowered, and it's going to make the strategy in general to open all of the league specific chests, because they can trigger your trinket, they have guaranteed rewards, you know what's in them, and now they're going to have more rewards in them from the small chests. So that's going to be the strat kind of moving forward. I think there's going to be pretty much not too much reason to open these small chests anymore, and we're going to be cherry picking those league specific chests moving forward. Next, a massive heavy hitter as well, league reward chests will now drop scarabs. So this is completely insane. It's going to make basically completely flip what the best contracts are on their head. Because there's no delirium scarab, for example, delirium goes down in value, for example, but also divination scarabs are massively expensive. So doing something like perception is now incredibly valuable. Perhaps buying perception contracts, running them, and getting gilded divination or even winged scarabs could be incredibly lucrative, and I'm definitely going to be checking that one out. If we get either 1 or 2 scarabs, or even like a scarab one, like half the time, it's going to be insane. Especially if you're doing high tier ones, because they will almost guarantee drop gilded scarabs some percentage of the time. So completely insane change there. Expect metamorph scarabs, breach scarabs, legion scarabs are going to be massive. All this kind of stuff. It's going to be great, and it's a massive buff to loot overall for the Heist League. It's completely insane. Next up, generic reward room chests will have their appearance rate reduced. So basically, what this means is that 50% of armor and jewelry is going to be tanked. I'm hoping they reduce this significantly. Right now, it feels a bit ridiculous how many jewelry chests you can get. But if they reduce this even by half, this is going to completely blow out like anything we've seen in terms of rewards. It's going to be completely ridiculous, because then you're going to be able to go back to those lockpicking contracts, back to that demolition. We're going to be able to do perception and get div card scarabs. It's going to be completely out of control. And this is going to be a pretty fun thing to do. So overall, that's kind of the heist reward buffs. You can pretty much guarantee that this is going to be better than day one with all these changes, unless they keep the generic reward room chests close to the rate they are now. But knowing grinding gear, they're probably going to nerf that quite significantly. And I imagine that contracts are going to be completely ridiculous money moving forward, with the scarabs, with the small rewards being moved into big chests, with the buff to Metamorph and Harbinger, and with that nerf to the generic reward chests in there. So this is going to be shaping up to be a stock up kind of situation in my opinion, and I'm going to be doing that for sure. But it doesn't stop there. We also have additional changes to blueprints. So I haven't talked much about blueprints. I haven't talked much about the end game of this league at all, because I got the rug pulled out of me by grinding gear, by all the nerfs and all the changes, and I really didn't want to invest my time in making content for something that was changing so much. But blueprints are set to be completely insane, on the level of potentially even fractured 5 orb maps with all the changes we're seeing here. So let me just pull up my blueprint tab. Here we got a few blueprints that we can check out here. So there's a change coming up. In addition to all the highest reward changes, we also now get to see all rewards on blueprints available. So if you hold Alt on a blueprint, you can indeed see all of the rewards on them. So my current best blueprint is this one here. So we've got Fragments, Breach, 2 Delirium, 1 Divination, 5 Currency, and then an Abyss and a Talisman. Now what you guys don't get to see on here is all of the juice that is also in there in addition to that. So there's the standard 12 additional secret reward rooms, and then there's an additional 2 to 3 per wing on top of that. So it's about half of the rewards we don't even know what they are. So it's about 50% of the loot in there could be armor and weapons and stuff like that, but I don't get to see it beforehand. So after the patch, I will get to see it with alt. Essentially what this is going to allow you to do is find the absolutely god contract of all god blueprints, whatever, and split that with split beasts, making it one of the most insane things ever. So if you guys didn't know, right now for each of these reward tiles on here, you get 2 reward chests in your reward room. So like if you've got 5 currency, that means you're getting 10 currency chests in the heist, which is actually pretty good. And that's pretty nuts. So after that, we're going to be able to double the amount of things we can see, meaning I could get a contract with 10 currency, which is 20 at the end of the day, which is completely out of control. 20 of them, that's really, really good. And you can kind of split these infinitely. And on top of that, you also get the end of reward thing. So for unusual gems, some of these are worth 2 to 3 exalts, specifically the aura ones, which is completely crazy. So I kind of want to just say a few more things about blueprints here. So with the previous nerf, not only did we get reductions to contracts, we also got nerfs to blueprints. Finding a good blueprint became very difficult due to all of the garbage generic rewards being added to the reward pool of each of the heisters. So you get a lot more armor and weapon rewards on all of these blueprints that dropped, essentially creating a legacy blueprint situation. So this blueprint was found before the nerf, and as you can see, it has a ton of league rewards on it, because back then you couldn't roll weapons, armor, and stuff like that on demolition. So that essentially created a god blueprint, legacy blueprint situation, where you couldn't get a better blueprint than you could get on day one. Now we're going back away from that. We can get more powerful blueprints than we ever could before, which is making it even more powerful. So blueprints in general, what are you looking at getting? You're getting the end rewards times 4. You're getting all of the rewards from it, and you can now see them, meaning you can cherry pick the best rewards and potentially get like 10 delirium, 10 currency, and who knows what. It could get, sky's the limit, right? You're also now getting scarabs from these. You're also getting more rewards in the actual chests from the small chests, meaning you can take cast and loot all of the map, and you're getting buffs to Metamorph and Harbinger. So basically, across the board buffs. It's insane. It's going to be crazy. And I'm very, very hyped to try it out. Hopefully this patch doesn't miss the mark. It all looks very, very promising indeed. The only negative here is that they are potentially nerfing the lockdown timer strat, but I don't think that strategy was very good anyway. I don't like being under pressure, and I certainly don't really want to spec into that when I could guarantee getting all the chests by using cast and some alert reduction gear. So with all that said, hopefully you guys are psyched for the new heist patch. I'm stocking up. I got a quad tab ready. I'm going to be pumping this. We're going to be getting data. We're going to be figuring this thing out and finally getting into some fun content with heist after all the nerfs. And I'll see you guys on stream or on YouTube in my next video. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.